Hey guys, and welcome back, and today I want to talk about how to synchronize between a Synology NAS and a TerraMaster NAS. Lots of you have been buying Synology NAS over the last few years, but it has to be said that if you're not utilizing a NAS properly, chances are it's not a very efficient backup. Backups come in many forms, and if you are utilizing your NAS as a means to back up photos and music and video from your phone, your tablet, your iPad, your MacBook, your whatever to the NAS and then delete them off of those little client devices to make room, you no longer have a backup. What you have is some random files on a NAS that are the only copies that exist in the world. So a number of you will end up buying another NAS server to back up the NAS to over the network. And lots of you might buy a big expensive Synology, but you'll buy a nice, easy and affordable TerraMaster to act as a network backup. Vice versa, perhaps you bought a TerraMaster NAS in the early days, and as you've used NAS for a number of years, you've realized how much you need it, and you've looked at some of the other brands and thought, do you know what, I think I might jump ship. Regardless of whichever way you look at it, there are many ways and means and applications that might serve for you to be able to synchronize two different NAS brands together. So today I'm going to talk about how to synchronize a Synology and an Asus NAS in both directions. We're going to look at if you wanted to synchronize the Synology to the TerraMaster or a TerraMaster to the Synology. So before we get anywhere with this, there is some crossing the T's and dotting the I's we have to run in the background. We've done a split screen here so I can show the options of each of the platforms. But if we go to the left here, the first thing you need to do on the Synology is head over to the control panel. Now in the control panel, we have to go to an option called File Services. From here, on the top bar, and this is on DSM 6.2, so the options might have changed in DSM 7, click the rsync option, Remote Sync. From here, you have to tick this box, which won't be ticked by default, to enable synchronization. It will suggest an encryption port, which you don't have to use, but I would leave on the one that they recommend. And you have to ensure that you create an rsync account. Once again, this isn't essential. You don't actually need to create an rsync account. And it's not an online thing. All it is just a checkbox between sending files between your Synology and your TerraMaster NAS. Just double check screen recording's happening, yes. It works as a checkpoint in the middle where it just double checks that you've got the right protocol username and password between the two. I created one, it's just the word admin and the password is password, but I recommend you create one of your own a little bit more distinctive, and it stops people taking advantage of rsync settings to try and get to your data. You can also set other options with regard to scheduling and limiting the amount of speed being utilized by the system so everyone's bandwidth isn't taken up. I'd recommend doing your rsync regularly, maybe daily, in the middle of the night, about 1 or 2 in the morning. Make sure everyone's asleep and therefore no one's bandwidth is affected. If you selected those options, click Apply. Now on the TerraMaster side, head down to an option called Backup. Click that once, and from here you have a bunch of options. The top 2 are the ones we're going to concentrate on. But from this side, select Enable rsync Server. Then give it a username and password. And again, I'm just going to go with username and password, but I recommend you use something a lot safer than that, and then click Apply. Once that's done, we can start configuring this backup. So for now, we'll start with the Synology side, shall we? From the Synology side, you need to install an application called Hyper Backup. It's available for free in the package center and is regularly updated. Select Hyper Backup, and from here, this is where you can run any number of backup operations between your Synology NAS and other platforms, backing up to USBs, backing up to remote NAS devices, backing up to the cloud and third-party cloud platforms. For this synchronization, we want to use rsync. We're going to have rsync single version, and then we click Next. From here, we have to say what kind of server we're going to be talking to, because this is where we're selecting where the data is going. We are sending data from the Synology to the TerraMaster. So because we're not using a Synology server and we're using another brand, we select an rsync compatible server. Next, we need the IP, which is these digits up here. Now you can copy paste these, just make sure when you do the copy paste to delete the HTTP at the beginning. Once that's done, you can ask whether you want to use encryption, which I would recommend you do, but just for the sake of speed in this video, I'm not going to select it. But if your data is mission critical or, quite private, then definitely enable that option. The port should be left at 873 by default unless you've played with the settings and you have multiple synchronizations in place. And then in the username and password section, enter that username and password that we entered earlier on this side. That username and password applies to the other NAS. From here, we can check if backup modules are an option. And it's right now, because we've enabled rsync, it's covered the folders in that rsync. So these are the two folders I've selected on that TerraMaster. Let's go for app data. Then click next. From here, it will ask you what data from the Synology do you want to send to the folders on the TerraMaster that we've just selected. For now, I'm just going to select music. Click next, and then it will ask if you want to back up important app data. Now, it doesn't do this for all applications, but it does include core applications where data needs to be kept in a certain way. And in terms of surveillance, with files having to be a certain file type and in an order, then chances are having surveillance data is going to be treated very differently. So if you do have particular data that is very app-centric, then chances are those apps will be listed here. For now, I'm just going to click next. Now, from this point on, we've got the name of the task we've created, which we can rename. We can then change some of the configuration options of the synchronization from the Synology to the TerraMaster. We can change everything from compression of data to the block level backup of that data in real time. On top of that, you can choose whether you want to back up the micro data, the metadata in the background there, and basically the mini data or just the core files, as well as creating limitations on upload and download to make sure all the bandwidth isn't utilized. Finally, you can create a schedule if you want, and I'm going to leave this schedule at 3 AM every single day. What's quite cool about versioning is you can create multiple versions of these files to be kept completely separately. So if you're backing up, for example, or syncing 1 gig of files from the Synology NAS to the TerraMaster, but it's a folder that changes every day and there's updates, you can make sure that every single synchronization every day is a completely separate folder, thereby overwriting nothing and keeping everything. For now, I'm going to click apply, and now it will add this synchronization to the list of available backups. Sorry, slightly out of breath there, been talking non-stop. We're not going to commit this backup now because I'm just going to press no so we can see it on there, and I'll run the backup at the end of the video. But from here, we can add more tasks, we can restore previous tasks, or look at the logs for tests that have gone right or wrong. We can even change the settings whenever we want. We don't have to go through the whole process again. You can literally just change it there. You can also delete it or edit it very quickly, and of course action it there for the very first time. Now on the TerraMaster side, once again we head back to the backup application. We've already enabled rsync, and that was how we were able to send data from the Synology to the TerraMaster. But what if we want to do it the other way around and send data from a TerraMaster to a Synology? Well, for that, we need rsync backup. We need to head into the option there and click create. From here, we give the task a name and we'll call this TerraSyn. From there, we then have to add the IP of where we're going. So we're heading over here to this. We're going to need that IP. Once again, ensure you don't have HTTP at the beginning there. The port 873, you don't have to change that unless you've changed it originally at the beginning. It's worth mentioning, however, that depending on the location and the network of the NAS and the power of the NAS you're using, some of these steps won't be as quick as you're seeing them on the screen for you. And it does depend on the NAS you're using and the complexity of your network. Once you add the login details that we added earlier on with the rsync options, click test, and it will test that it pings the other NAS to know that it's there. You'll know if it's worked because the next button now becomes available. If it didn't work, a red warning message will appear and not let you proceed. Click next, and from here, this is where you have to select where you want your data to go from the TerraMaster to the Synology. So for now, we're just going to click multimedia. Then you have to select the folder on your TerraMaster NAS that you want to send. I'm going to send app data. Then I'm going to click next, and now we have to select how and when we want it to run. Let's say we're going to do it every day, and we're going to have it every single day at about 1 AM. Then we click next. From here we can configure a number of those options that we saw before with regards to the background data, how we, the compression of that data, if we want that compression done, or if there is compression, do we want to maintain it, and do we want to set it up that during the read-write operation of the synchronization, those folders cannot be accessed, which is quite useful to make sure that it is a complete and closed backup. Moving forward, we can then select complete, and it will invite us to start it when we want. And in real time, that synchronization is now taking place. It is now synchronizing the data from the TerraMaster folder I selected and sending it over to the Synology. Now, do bear in mind that most people will be utilizing 1 gigabit Ethernet networks, which means the maximum speed you will get is around 100 megabytes. But in real terms, and to be realistic, you will be lucky to get somewhere between 30 to 50 megabytes per second transfer over the network over rsync. Now, from the Synology side, if you wanted to action that backup, go back to Hyper Backup, and here, if I click that button, now we've got the Synology synchronizing with the TerraMaster, and that is as easy as it is. It really is straightforward to synchronize these NAS brands and platforms, and I hope you find this video useful. And we'll be synchronizing more of the NAS brands that I have here and showing you guys just how easy it is to not only have a mixed NAS brand network, but to ensure that you can get your primary NAS to be crazy powerful, but then only have to spend a couple of £100 on a suitable backup. But I'm going to wrap things up there. If you've enjoyed this video or you found it useful, please click like and support the channel. If you want to learn more, of course, click subscribe, because I have videos coming out almost every single day, and on the other YouTube channel every single day. And finally, click the bell to be more notified about suitable videos just like this, so the YouTube algorithm can make sure you get pushed to the videos you care about and not just any old pump. I will see you guys next time.